Welcome everyone. Today we have a speed farming Gauntlet build for the Barbarians in Season 3. Now looking behind me, I'm currently test running in a tier 100 dungeon, and this is my first test run. And what I was testing is the speed of I can clear monsters, the mobility, and also how fast you can clear the dungeon. And even with some mistakes and also careless errors, I was able to do a tier 100 Vault Nightmare dungeon within about 3 minutes. So I do believe this is a super fast build, and this utilizes a lot of mobility, a lot of damage, a lot of defensiveness, and also it's a really fun build to be farming and also to be preparing for the Gauntlet that will be coming into Diablo 4 Season 3. So briefly having a look at this build, and I'm sure you guys know that the Barbarians have no trouble with bosses. Unlike most other builds, what I'm trying to focus over here is the defensive capacities, the movement, and also how much you can clear monsters. And this is something we want to focus on as Barbarians coming into the leaderboard. And yes, if you want the boss lane build, this build works perfectly because it's Helm of Ancient. So right away you can see we're using charge as one form of mobility, and by charging into enemies I'll be gaining increased movement speed and also increased fury because my boots will provide me with movement speed as I become unstoppable. Now I am currently using two shouts over here, so Rally Cry and also Challenging Shout both serves a purpose of giving me more fury and also providing me with shorter cooldowns for my Berserker and also for charge as I use Martial Glyph. So this is very mobile. Now what I tend to do is I tend to keep my Challenging Shout as my defensive capacity while my Rally Cry as my form of mobility. And this allows me to face tank and also to go through, tier 100 dungeons without any problems. Now once you want a burst of damage or you want to, take on bosses or group of elites, upon using the Wrathful Berserker, you really do become Superman mode. And here I wasn't even managing my fury, I would just, I was just spectre mode. I was just focused on whatever comes in front of me, just one-shotting it or two-shotting it, and the build is incredibly fun. What you can see with my pet is I have switched into a more defensive pet just so that we can be a little more reckless with the movement and also be a little more durable. And the build itself is incredibly powerful without any uber uniques and have infinite scaling potential with all 5 of different uber uniques that is available to the Barbarians. Now as I go through my stats, one of the interesting highlights about this build I want to show you guys is you can have a look. So before I perk into the 12% movement speed, I'm currently not on the highest 123% movement speed, but through casting multiple of my spells, I can easily get myself to about 200 movement speed by casting the shells, the charges, and also the Rally Cry. So this is one of the ways for us to get to 200 movement speed or 200% movement speed to run and also speed run into the dungeons and also clear the leaderboard fast. And I do think this is a little highlight, so I wanted to show you guys. So you can see in the replays when I demonstrated by casting the spells, even without my 12% movement speed passive, I still can be very, very fast. Now if you come over to the builder's guide, what I have done is I have prepared a much faster movement speed build that sacrifices a bit of defensive capacities. And this build starts without using any uber uniques. So I'm using, aspects that refunds fury, and also I'm using different aspects over here. And if you look into my character, I'm AFK at the moment to farm some cores as I make the recording. It's a really good spot. So as you look into my character, yes, during the recording I am using 2 of the uber uniques I have found, but there is an adjustment. So let me show you guys the gears if I don't have the uber unique. The adjustment of uber unique will be that the Ring of Starless will be replacing the aspect of Unrelenting Fury, and the Grandfather will be replacing the aspects of Limitless Rage. We can also replace the accelerating aspects with the Doombringer, replace the Berserker's helmet with the shackle, of course. Now it is optional to consider replacing the Talisman over here, because this actually gives us great boost of stats and also damage. You can replace this one with a Melted Heart if you are attempting for a much difficult dungeon, but I don't think that is needed. So we can keep this one instead of going to the Melted Heart and retain a lot of damage, because I think we have plenty of defensive capacities. Now as for the choices of the pet, I have decided to not go with Flash of Adrenaline, but rather go with Protect over here. And here we're still using Tempest. As you can see with Protect, I'm increasing duration, the volume, and also the cooldowns, lowering the cooldowns. If you ever get, your Genesis gems, you can use it over the volume over here. And as for the uber unique gem for plus all 4 skills, if you ever get that, you can replace the safety guard over here onto Tempest. You can still retain the more resource and also vulnerability, which will provide great utility and also damage for the build. Now, what you may be noticing is the current build I'm reading is a little bit different to what I have provided to you guys in my current account. So let's come over to my character over here, and I want to briefly go over to the skill trees. The paragons are pretty much unchanged, and I do like my paragon a lot. I even made a video about it. So as for the skill trees, my current one is a balanced one, which provides us with durability, mobility, and also lots of damage. But if you guys want even faster speed, I have made one that we perked into movement by sacrificing some duration of the shouts and also some healing. Now we even went for Warcry to provide us with more damage for the more faster clear. But if the first version of the build is not to your liking, if you feel yourself a little squishy, try my second version. I have both of the links available for you guys. So what is happening in the second version is we will be using 2 shouts. Rally Cry, as I said earlier, for mobility, resource gain, and also to give us more movement. And Challenging Shout will give us defensive capacities. Now, it is possible previously we were using Warcry, but if you look into it, the replacement of charge is way better than Warcry. This is because by getting into charge, you'll be reducing cooldowns by charging into enemies. Even at rank 1 at 17-second cooldown, I'm looking at this one about 9 or 6-second cooldown by charging into multiple enemies. Gaining Berserk as a charging to enemies and also gaining Unstoppable means I gain Fury, movement speed, and also tons of damage. So this is definitely much better than a 3-second, Berserk duration coming from Warcry and also the 15%, I believe. And I do like this replacement for mobility. Now in terms of additional damage, if you guys do not have the Grandfather, you don't have to go with a bonus critical strike damage. You can remove 3 points over here and get 3 more points into movement speed. And those as an adjustment, I'll show you guys 2 versions in the builder's guide. Now briefly going through some of the skill rotations, and I do want to show you guys the time that I died. Yeah, I was a little careless. The skill rotations are pretty straightforward. You'll be charging into enemies and try to charge into at least 1 or 2 enemies to reduce cooldowns. By doing that, you gain Fury and movement speed. Your Rally Cry is your best source of mobility. And, whenever needed, you can cast a Wrath of Berserker. You don't have to save it too much. Sometimes I was being a little too greedy. I don't want to use my Wrath of Berserker, and this is how I died. So there is a potential that you die without having a barrier, and if you're not using your Challenging Shot, so I was so greedy over here. I decided to face a pack of elites without using Challenging Shot, without using Wrath of Berserker, and just think I could face tank them. So this is something you want to avoid. And that's the only time I think they got to me. And you can see that the build is actually incredibly speedy, incredibly mobile, and you just gain everything you wanted from the barbarians in terms of boss killing, because I don't need to show you guys boss killing. We'll be hitting like 300, 400 million with Doriel. The build has everything we wanted, and it can only get stronger as you get stronger gems with your pet and also stronger uber uniques. And this is what I want to prepare for the Gauntlet. And I think the rotation majority of the time, we don't have any problems. Launch strike into enemies, casting charge and also challenging cry whenever you need them. And don't be too greedy to save all your cooldowns on challenging shot. And that is my biggest advice. Once you get the hang of this build, I think you'll love it. And this will definitely be one of my top choices to prepare for the Gauntlet and also to race for the leaderboard. So what I do now is I'll show you guys a brief recording of me speedrunning the tier 100 dungeon with the Vault. Now do keep in mind, I did spend about 30 wardings so I can just get all the reward at the end. I don't think we're lacking damage, and you're not really here to see the Hota build for damage, right? You see the best utility, mobility, durability, and also combination of spells for the Hota build so you can run the dungeons faster. Hota build, we don't have problem with damage. We're pretty good. We're pretty top in the meta at the moment. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this replay, and let me know in the comments what do you think about the barbarians for the leaderboard.